What happened to you at the bus?
Some buses with bad brakes crashed into me.
Really?
And I had buses at the back of me and buses in front, and I was caught in between.
Good
And
heavens.
I was in hospital with a fractured pelvis and badly bruised and knocked around, you know.
Wow. How old were you then, Mary?
I was just 15 going on 16.
Wow.
Mm,
That was a bad accident then.
it was really bad.
So that was at St. Mary's College?
Yes.
Oh. And then you went to local school or something after that, did you?
And then, no, after that I went to work.
Oh, so after the accident, you never finished your schooling?
After the accident, I didn't go back to school because I would have missed too much schooling and I would have been in the same class for another year. And
Oh.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
nobody had any money in those days, so...
So you went to Otahu Convent in about 36, and then
Yeah.
for 10 years, and then you went to St. Mary's College, got crushed by 2 buses, and you must have been in hospital for a long time then.
I was in there for about 6 weeks, just over 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. And then so when you came out, you were about 15 or 16,
Yeah.
and then you didn't finish your schooling because
No.
I suppose they didn't think it was important for girls to finish or something.
Well, no. Well, actually, everybody would have liked to, and they were pretty keen on everybody finishing school, even in those days.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't fair in a way, even though you did the same amount of work,
Yeah.
and you're just every bit as good as them, they'd get more because they'd passed an exam, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So then you started working young then. You were only about 15 or 16. That's a young
Yeah,
age.
that's all I was. Even during, when we were kids and we went to secondary
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
well, we had to work through all the holidays. We never got school holidays. We had to go out and work through them
Wow.
and hand our money to our parents, you know.
And then they gave you
They
pocket
were
money.
tough days, all right.
They gave you
We sort
pocket
of got
money?
no holiday at all, you know.
Oh.
Mm.
Did they give you pocket money?
2 and 6.
Yeah. Well,
2 shillings and 6pence. That's all you got.
you could buy yourself some sweets or something.
You could go to the movies in those days for that and get an ice cream, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, that's I suppose about what my parents used to give me.
Yeah.
They used to give us about 10 to 20 rand, which was a movie ticket really.
Yeah, well, it was about a movie ticket and an ice cream, I suppose. That's what you got for it.
Oh. And then you carried on working. You must have felt... But I guess your other friends were still at school though, weren't they? So I guess you probably felt
Yeah,
a bit...
the other ones stayed on to school.
Yeah.
But
So,
I didn't bother. I sort of picked up with a few new friends and that, you know.
yeah. What sort of job did you do?
I worked in the government, you know, and that, you know how they do all the pensions and that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the old people and for the family benefit and those, you know, all those pensions, you know, for
Yeah.
welfare.
Welfare.
And that. I worked there.
Oh.
It was a lovely crowd of people to work with. They were very nice, very friendly.
Yeah.
And we had basketball. I joined the basketball team when I got better.
Huh.
And we went on basketball trips and that, you know,
Yeah.
down to Wellington and Rotorua and that.
Oh, okay. You're good, eh?
I love basketball, I really did.
Mm-hmm. And then you did that for a couple of years, and then somewhere along the line met John, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And how did you meet John?
Oh, I met him at the Irish Club.
Ah.
Yeah. That's where I met him.
You were a good Irish dancer, I suppose.
I think John was a better Irish dancer than I was. He could dance in those days. You know, with all that Irish dancing he could.
Yeah.
But I was more of a ballroom dancer, you know.
Yeah.
Must have loved the ballroom.
Ah.
Mm.
Wow.
Do you watch that thing on America's Got Talent?
I've seen it a little bit, yeah, but not enough to comment on it.
Yeah, oh, we watch it all the time, you know, because the TV here isn't that great, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then, so when did you buy your house in Westminster? You've been there for a while.
We bought it about 47 years ago.
Wow.
47 years ago. Because we came here into the house when Coleman was only 3.
Ah.
Mm. He's only a little toddler. I remember he found it very hard to climb up the hill.
Huh.
He was only 3.
Wow.
And as he walked up the hill, he used to like to stop and look at the horses and everything, you know.
Oh, because in those days it would have been countryside.
There were horses down there and empty paddocks and that. And all around the back of our place, they're all paddocks and fields and all that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's amazing how suburbs change, isn't it?
Oh, don't they? And of course, when we bought the section, it looked so nice. There were beautiful big gum trees and, oh, it looked so lovely.
Yeah.
And then when we got neighbours, I heard them saying, oh, get those trees down, you know, get those trees down,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then the neighbour next door said she only had 2 kids and she had them well apart, and she said she couldn't get her napkins dry. That was a load of hooey, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a lovely tree, beautiful tree, but anyway, it had to come down.
That's a shame.
Mm.
But you've always had a nice garden anyway.
Yeah, we had the back beautiful this year, and most of the front was quite nice.
Mm.
But Christine did a lot of the back of it. She brought a lot of plants, but it was so, you know what ruined it? With the heat, you had to put a lot of water on the garden to, you know, and I lost some lovely, you know, those lovely little coloured lilies in there?
Yeah.
I had some lovely coloured, little tiny miniature lilies.
Yeah.
I had
Nice.
some lovely plants in.
And they died or something, did they?
Well, it was so hot here. It was one of the hottest summers we've had.
Mm-mm.
And you just had to keep watering it. I mean, God, I had a terrible big bill to pay with the water rates, you know.
Hmm.
But you know what I don't think's fair, Shireen?
What?
Well, the neighbour next door, she sold her house for a state to the government for a state house. Well, those people can stay there and they can turn their taps on, their hoses on, and they don't pay a cent. And yet we've got to pay for water, even though we're pensions now, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't make it easy, does it?
No. And yet the other 2 neighbours on the other side, those houses are government houses now, so they don't pay for any water,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, well, that's typical, isn't it?
And we don't get any home help or nothing. We don't get anything.
Yeah.
So
You could ask for some sort of home help, maybe.
we
Or,
did. John asked them when he was in the hospital. He spoke up.
yeah.
Mm.
And-
Anyway, I potter around and do it myself, and I don't mind really.
Yeah, yeah. Did you get a little bit of home help when John was in hospital?
No, I got none.
Hmm.
And the only home help I got, remember I had 2 knees done.
I remember that.
The first knee, I got someone out here,
Yeah.
and she came late, and she left early.
Oh,
And she was in most shock. She was so bad.
yeah.
With the next knee, I didn't ask for anyone. I hobbled around and did it myself.
Yeah.
And with that last knee,
Yeah.
I asked them if they'd come and dress my knee, and they said they don't do that now.
Oh,
They said that I'd have to go down to the chemist and buy some material. You know, some of that stuff costs quite a bit not to do my own knee.
yeah.
Now, what do you think of that? I think that was pretty poor.
It is pretty poor, isn't it?
Mm.
I think
You
that... Hmm?
You know, someone at my age, and I had to get down to the chemist shop there in Linmore,
Hmm.
hobble around the best I could and pick up some plasters and bandages and everything and get to and do my own knee.
That's,
You know?
that's not very good. Not very good care, public
It
health
was
care.
very poor care.
Yeah.
And when I was in there, I had my blood pressure was so high it was over 200,
Wow.
and I thought they'd never stop taking my blood pressure, and they had to call a doctor in the morning.
Good grief.
It was so high, and then they had to give me a blood transfusion too.
Wow.
Mm. But not that I was caring about that, but I thought, well, surely to God they could get someone for you for home care, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But we asked again, and they said we couldn't be bothered with it, you know.
Too much hassle.
Too much hassle. And as long as I get up reasonably early,
Yeah.
it's sometimes like if the baby's here,
Hmm.
and he might be here for a couple of days or an odd day or something. It's mostly days when the baby's here. Like I had to go to the hospital yesterday. He had to go to the nuclear part, you know, to have the dye put through his veins.
Yes.
To dye
Imaging.
put through his kidneys to see where the fluid was going, you know?
For the X-rays, yeah.
Mm. And I saw them putting the needle up as a little cry, but no, I felt sorry for the poor little fella who's crying.
Oh no, it's a lot to go through, even as a little baby, isn't it?
They said he's a marvellous baby. They said he's got a very high tolerance of pain, you know?
Yeah.
He was such a good little boy.
Poor
He's a
thing.
lovely little fella. He really is. He's a darling.
And how's Tracy coping with the baby?
She's not doing too bad at all. As a matter of fact, she was that worried she'd missed the appointment that she stayed up on the couch and she sort of had cups of tea and that, so she was too scared to miss out, you know, because he had to be there at 8:35.
Yeah.
And then when we got there, we weren't done till about 12 o'clock.
Oh, it's a long time.
And then they wanted to find a vein, and about 3 nurses couldn't find a vein, so then they had to call the house surgeons.
Yeah.
And there were 2 doctors came, and I think the little Chinese doctor found the vein.
Yeah.
And took some blood, and then they forgot to put the thing on, you know, the little catheter up in.
Yeah.
So then they had to call another house surgeon. It took another hour. And by the time we got in there, he didn't get done for quite a while, but we weren't moaning about it, you know.
Yeah, that's a long day, isn't it?
It was a very long. So the poor little fellow was hungry, and last time she brought some food, they said to her, look, you're allowed to give Liam food.
Yes.
As long as it's so far away. So she gave it to him, and then when she got in there, they said, "Oh, we can't do him straight away now because you gave him food." So this time she didn't bring the bottle, so I asked the nurse if she could give him a little bottle, so she did.
Yeah.
And when he came to the end of his bottle, he thought, "Oh, there's not much more in there. I want more." So I had to go on. I said, "Little boys get very hungry," so she gave him another bottle. Yeah.
Oh dear.
But he's crawling everywhere now.
Yeah, it's growing up.
And he pulled over a pot plant one day, and he pulled the cat's tail, or the cat's tail was sticking up, you know. And he's into everything. So you got to watch him all the time, Cherie, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think having a baby was probably a good thing for Tracy, because, you know, it gives her something to...
It was the best thing that ever happened to her, really.
Yeah.
Well, Barry never wanted children.
But it doesn't matter about Barry, but, you know, that Tracy got someone to focus on and, you know, share a loving with.
She really does love him.
I think it's good.
Make sure he gets his medicine. I'll say one thing about her. She always makes sure he's fed well. You know, she gives him plenty of food.
Yeah.
And plenty of variety and that, and she always makes sure he's not hungry.
Yeah.
And she gets those little hard biscuits, special baby biscuits, you know, for him. You can have one now and again, you know.
Yeah. Sweet. And I'm sure in the long run he'll be alright. He'll probably grow up okay.
Well,
in the long run they'll probably fix his kidneys somewhere along the line.
Oh, I hope so. Well, my doctor asked how he was doing. And my doctor said to me, you know, he said, often as those children get older, their kidneys do improve.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reason is, but they seem to improve naturally.
Well, everything gets a bit bigger and not so tiny.
Said, the doctor at the hospital, Mr. Nightingale, he said the trouble is, he said, you're always left with scars on the kidney.
You're always what?
Left with scars on the kidney.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, everybody when you go in there, they've all got their little kids and they're all so sick and, you know.
Yeah.
But he's been very good in there. He's certainly had his dose of hospitals. And my doctor said to me, you know, they weren't small operations. They said he really went through quite a bit. They were quite big operations for a little fellow his age.
Yes.
So I hope he gets better soon. Yeah. I
hope so too.
They told us at the hospital it had nothing to do with Tracy taking the drugs. They said quite openly, they said it would have happened to about one child in about 550,000.
What do they reckon? What about
They
the...
said it had nothing to do with her taking
right.
taking drugs or anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, that probably made her feel better then.
Well, actually, I don't know whether she heard it, because I asked personally. I asked myself. I wanted to know what happened. And they told me over and over, they said it had nothing to do with her having taken drugs at all. They said it's
just bad luck.
One of those things, like sort of like what happened to about 1 in about 550,000, you know.
Wow.
That's what they told me anyway, so I don't know whether they're right or wrong. But you know, in today's Herald, Cherie, there's quite a bit about how 40 people, I think, died over the different time, and they said that they did a lot of people, they sort of diagnosed them wrongly, you know.
And what did they die of? The kidneys?
Oh, they just died. One lady went in, she was elderly, and she was down the country somewhere, and she went in because they thought, oh, we better put you in at your age with the flu. So they put her in, and they gave her the wrong medicine, and she died.
Good heavens.
She would have been better if she'd taken. There's quite a bit about that.
Wow.
But they've got so many nurses in there. You'd think they'd sort of, when one nurse is putting up the stuff, you'd think the other one would check it or something.
Well, you'd think so. I mean,
because
usually...
they always have plenty of nurses standing around and that, you know.
Well, you're meant to check everything.
Yes, I know, and they're not all white nurses. Some of them are...
Which hospital's this one? Which hospital?
This is the Auckland Hospital.
Auckland, eh? Wow.
I've got the front page here. I could just tell you what it... Just tell you the headlines of it.
Okay.
What's it say? Oh, I can't see the headlines now. Something about, anyway, about the... Oh, hospital errors exposed.
Oh.
The hospital errors are exposed. The news on A5. On A5, Cherie, of the New Zealand Herald today.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty big news then, eh?
Yeah, so, yeah.
Maybe the healthcare is getting a little bit worse.
And they said there was a midwife charged in a stillborn baby case. Report reveals scale of hospitals' worst mistakes.
Wow.
They reckon call for league tables that record number of errors and infections. Well, look at the way John picked up that bug.
Yeah.
And would you believe it, Cherie? I went to see my brother-in-law, and he was sitting up in the bed. He was looking as good as gold.
Yeah.
He was talking about going home.
When was this?
This was last July. Early in July. Oh, early at the end of January.
Yeah.
So anyway, at the end of June, I mean. So anyway, I rang up his son and I said, when's Martin gone? Has he gone home? And he said, well, didn't you hear? He said he picked up some bug in there, and he said he's worse than ever. So I said to the nurse, I said, how on earth could he have picked up a bug? I said, he was looking so well and ready to go home. She said, oh, didn't you know this is the worst place on earth to pick up bugs? She said, it's hospitals.
It's true. Yeah.
So
we've got that problem even here, really.
Yeah.
You know, people don't wash their hands 100% between going to patients, that sort of stuff.
I always make sure when I go to hospitals or anywhere here, I always wash my hands thoroughly before I prepare food or before I even do dishes or anything. I always wash my hands, you know?
Yes. Yeah, you
are. Especially after John got that bug. God, he was so bad. But look at Martin, he died of that bug. I don't know if it was the same bug, but he died.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like Aussie, Cherie?
I like Australia, Mary.
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, our life's a bit quiet, and we don't have the same level of friendships that I had in New Zealand. But, you know, we've got a nice house here. And
I think it's lovely.
And the weather's always warm.
Yes, that's one thing.
And I always sit around the house half naked because of that, and I think it's quite nice. And
it would be.
And so the weather's always good, and we just live just down the road from the beach here, which It's not the best beach in the world, but it's, you know, it's good
No,
enough
I've
for
seen
family living.
I've gone out there and I've walked down the pier with Shelley.
Yeah.
I thought it was lovely, you know.
It's good enough for family living.
Yeah, I thought it was very nice,
Yeah.
actually.
And
I quite liked the little shopping centre and that, you know. I thought it was very nice myself.
yeah, and the dogs like it, and everyone likes it. You should come spend a day or a couple of days with us here in Australia, Mary.
Tracy liked Australia best. But then she realised, who would she have over there, you know? She didn't have anyone.
No, I guess you need family, especially if you're Tracy anyway, because Tracy needs probably family more than anyone.
Yeah.
Keep her a bit stable.
That's right.
But anyway, no, so we like it here, and now we bought that other house in Margate, which is also by the beach. So we rent.
Oh, yeah.
That's
good too, isn't it? You know, you're quite lucky. It was a shame for Coleman the way they spent that money. You know, like they had so much on each house. Well, they had to sell the two houses to get enough to go over there.
Yeah.
But
well, you can't blame anyone. I mean, they both did it willingly.
Anyone.
No, I'm just saying. They both did it willingly, and they probably had a good holiday in France.
Well, don't think I'm being nasty, but Coleman said, really, he said, I don't know why, he said, but she was just horrible to me, he said, when I was over in France.
Ah.
Saying I couldn't pick up the French quick enough, and she was French, and I couldn't pick it up quick enough, and he said, sometimes, he said, she was so horrible to me, he said, I was nearly going to pack up and go home if it wasn't for the boys.
Oh, really? So he didn't have a good time?
No, she was horrible to him. Oh. And he said he worked really hard because he's not a builder.
Yeah.
So to have that job as a builder, he had to work harder than an ordinary builder would. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he said he did work hard, and when he'd get in the door, he said he wouldn't know what in the hell he'd done. She'd give him such filthy looks all the time, you know? So I'm not running her down altogether. I mean, she had some good points too, you know, but, you know.
But, I mean, oh well, I guess you could write it off as saying he had a good holiday, so to speak. I mean, an experience of a lifetime. I mean, you know, you're not going to go to France again.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, actually, when I was in the hospital yesterday, it's such a big hospital. We've got used to Ward 4 because that's the hospital little Liam was always on, the surgical ward.
Yeah.
But this time, he was in different wards. And so a lady said she'd take me down, show me where to go. So anyway, she took me round and she was talking like I couldn't understand the word she said. So I said to her, where are you from? And she said, France. And she was speaking English, but I just couldn't understand her, you know?
Yeah.
So, I suppose it was a holiday for the boys, you know?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mary, I'm going to go. I'll catch you later.
Yeah, okay then, Sherry. Have a good day.
Okay, nice chatting to you. Bye.
Nice talking to you. Bye. All the best to you. Bye.
Hey, Mary.